While I was in a coma, my husband and mother-in-law stole my wallet. She won't need it where she's going, they chuckled, spending $150,000 on a luxury cruise. When the nurse handed me the receipts, I smiled. Then transferred every penny from their secret accounts to charities while they were still at sea. She won't need it where she's going. Those were the first words I heard as consciousness flickered back like a faulty light bulb. My husband Mark's voice, followed by his mother Eleanor's distinctive cackle. Their conversation faded as darkness swallowed me again. When my eyes finally opened, the hospital room's fluorescent lights stabbed my retinas like needles. My throat felt like sandpaper, my limbs as heavy as concrete. The clock on the wall read 3:17 p.m. But what day? What month? The window showed leaves falling. Wasn't it spring when I last remembered being awake? I tried to speak, producing only a raspy whimper that caught the attention of a nurse checking the monitors beside my bed. Her ID badge read Donna. Her eyes widened as she noticed mine were open. Mrs. Carter? Can you hear me? Her gentle voice betrayed her shock. Don't try to talk. You've been intubated for a while. Blink once for yes. I blinked, tears streaming down my face. You've been in a coma for 3 months, Sarah. This is unexpected. The doctors didn't think. She stopped herself, pressing the call button. Let me get Dr. Patel. 3 months. The realization crashed over me. What happened to me? The last thing I remembered was dinner at home with Mark, his mother visiting from Phoenix. I'd made pasta and then nothing. Before the doctor arrived, Donna leaned closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. Your husband and mother-in-law weren't expecting you to wake up. They've been telling everyone you wouldn't survive much longer. My heart monitor betrayed my panic with rapid beeping. Donna quickly adjusted something on my fore. Calm down, Mrs. Carter. I shouldn't have said anything yet, but something's not right. I've been your primary nurse for 2 months, and the way they talk when they think you can't hear. She hesitated. We should wait for the doctor. Dr. Patel arrived, astonishment evident on his face as he examined me. Remarkable, he muttered, shining a light in my eyes. Mrs. Carter, you've defied our expectations. Your brain activity has been minimal. We need to run tests, but this is, well, quite extraordinary. After he left to order scans, Donna returned with ice chips for my parched mouth. As sensation gradually returned to my body, so did snippets of memories. Or were they dreams? Mark and Eleanor standing over my bed discussing finances. Their voices had penetrated my unconscious mind during their visits. The accounts are cleared out. She's never going to know. The doctors say her brain activity is almost non-existent. We deserve this cruise after everything. When Donna returned later that evening, I managed to croak out my first words. My husband, stealing? Her face confirmed my fears before she spoke. I've been documenting everything, Mrs. Carter. I've worked this floor for 20 years and I've seen family members do terrible things, but this... She glanced at the door before pulling out her phone. I shouldn't be involved, but something about them made me suspicious from day one. She showed me photos of receipts, bank statements, credit card bills. All collected from the trash can in my room or photographed when left unattended. A $150,000 luxury cruise booking. Designer clothes. A down payment on a vacation property in Florida. All using my accounts, my savings, my inheritance from my parents. They visit twice a week like clockwork. Always when shift changes happen, always when there's minimal staff. They think no one notices. Donna's voice hardened. They told the billing department you'd be dead before the end of the month, so they were tying up loose ends with your finances. The betrayal cut deeper than any physical pain. 15 years of marriage to Mark, all those holiday dinners with Eleanor, the joint accounts we'd established with such trust. Had it all been building to this moment? Had I simply been a means to an end? As my strength gradually returned over the next 48 hours, Donna brought me more evidence. Medical records showed my admission for anaphylactic shock, supposedly from accidentally consuming shellfish, which I was deathly allergic to. But the toxicology report showed concentrations that made no sense for accidental exposure. The levels in your blood work, Donna explained during her night shift when we could talk privately. Dr. Harrison questioned it initially, but your husband insisted you must have eaten something at a restaurant earlier. With no evidence to suggest otherwise. They poisoned me, I whispered, the truth crystallizing with horrible clarity. Mark knows I check every ingredient. I haven't accidentally consumed shellfish since I was 16. My accounting background, 15 years at Carter and Winslow Financial Services before cutting back to part-time after marrying Mark, suddenly became my greatest asset. Numbers never lied. Patterns always revealed the truth. Donna, I need you to do something for me. My voice grew stronger with determination. Don't tell anyone I'm awake. Not yet. But the doctors. Tell them I slipped back under. That it was temporary. Buy me time. My mind was already calculating, planning. They're on their cruise now? Left 3 days ago. 3-week Mediterranean voyage. Donna looked uncertain. You need medical care, rehabilitation. And I'll get it. But if they know I'm awake, they'll empty whatever accounts they haven't already drained and disappear. A cold resolve settled over me. I need my laptop from home. Can you get someone to bring it? Tell them Dr. Patel ordered cognitive tests. Against her better judgment, Donna agreed. My house keys were in the hospital's safe with my personal effects. The next day, her daughter retrieved my laptop from the home office Mark rarely entered. As I slowly regained strength in my atrophied muscles through secret therapy sessions Donna arranged during her shifts, I began piecing together the extent of their betrayal. Mark and Eleanor had timed everything perfectly, or so they thought. They hadn't counted on me waking up. They certainly hadn't counted on Donna's meticulous documentation or my financial expertise. Every night I worked from my hospital bed, using the skills I'd honed throughout my career to trace their digital footprints. Passwords I knew, accounts they thought I'd forgotten, online banking credentials they'd failed to change. We need to tell someone, Donna urged 1 week after my awakening as she helped me sit up independently for the first time. Not yet, I insisted, showing her my laptop screen, a bank transfer confirmation showing the movement of funds to an offshore account. They think they're untouchable on that cruise ship. But the satellite internet they're using? It's creating a perfect trail. I smiled for the first time since waking up, a smile that held no warmth. They've stolen everything from me, including nearly taking my life. But they forgot the most important thing. What's that? Donna asked. Never underestimate an accountant with nothing left to lose. My words hung in the air as Donna nodded grimly. The following morning she arrived for her shift with a manila envelope tucked inside her scrubs. Monthly statements from your checking and savings accounts, she whispered, closing the door behind her. I called the bank pretending to be you, said I was traveling and needed them sent to my sister's address. My home. Most nurses wouldn't risk their licenses this way, but Donna had witnessed too many visiting hours filled with Mark and Eleanor's whispered calculations over my supposedly dying body. Spreading the statements across my lap, I traced my finger along the columns of numbers. Even in my weakened state, the patterns jumped out immediately. Small withdrawals at first, $500 here, $1,000 there, beginning not after my hospitalization but 6 months prior. The amounts gradually increased as they grew bolder, culminating in massive transfers once I was comatose. They were planning this, I murmured, my hands trembling. The accident was just the final step. The timestamps told their own damning story. Withdrawals made minutes after my regular Thursday yoga class. Transfers during my monthly lunch with college friends. They had studied my routine, knowing exactly when I wouldn't notice money disappearing. There's more, Donna said, pulling a folded document from her pocket. Found this in your husband's jacket when he left it on your chair during his last visit. It was a power of attorney form granting Mark complete control over all my financial affairs, supposedly signed 2 days before my allergic reaction. The signature looked convincing at first glance, but after 15 years of signing joint tax returns and Christmas cards, I spotted the flaws. The loop of the insera was too tight, the slant of the C in Carter too steep. A decent forgery but not perfect. He forged my signature, I said flatly, feeling strangely calm. And the witnessing notary, Maria Valdez, she doesn't exist, at least not at this address. The notary stamp looks legitimate but the number's wrong. Standard 8 digits, this has 9. Donna looked impressed. How can you tell all that? 5 years auditing suspicious financial documents for Carter and Winslow, I explained. Forgery was my specialty. The irony would be funny if I wasn't the victim. Over the next 3 days, Donna brought more evidence. retirement account statements showing dramatic changes to beneficiaries, insurance policy modifications, even property deeds with my forged signature transferring ownership of our vacation cabin to Eleanor. The paper trail painted a clear picture, but it was Mark himself who provided the final pieces of the puzzle. His Wednesday visit coincided with what Donna told the staff was a temporary setback in my condition, requiring privacy screens and minimal disruption. Hidden behind the medical equipment, I lay perfectly still, eyes closed, breathing evenly as Mark settled into the visitor's chair beside my bed. His phone rang within minutes. "Hi, Mom," he answered, his voice cheerful in a way I hadn't heard since our early dating days. "Yes, everything's still on schedule. Sarah's condition is deteriorating nicely, according to the doctor I spoke with this morning." The casual cruelty of his words sent ice through my veins. "The Cayman account is all set up. Henderson confirmed the transfers are untraceable." He laughed. "No, they can't freeze them once we're on international waters. That's the beauty of it. Everything will look legitimate from their end. By the time anyone would investigate, we'll have moved the money again." He paused, listening. "Of course I feel something, Mom. 15 years is a long time. But let's be honest, it was your idea to pursue Sarah in the first place. The quiet accountant with the family money, remember? You said she'd be perfect." My heart seemed to stop. Our meet-cute at a charity auction, had that been orchestrated? Our whirlwind romance, his persistent courtship despite my initial hesitation. All calculated? "No point getting sentimental now," Mark continued. "We've got 3 weeks of luxury ahead and the rest of our lives to enjoy her money. The doctors say it's just a matter of time before her organs start failing. Natural causes. No one will question it." After he left, I finally allowed myself to cry, silent tears streaming into my pillow. 15 years of memories kaleidoscoped through my mind. Mark's proposal at my favorite restaurant, our wedding in my parents' backyard, vacations and anniversaries and ordinary Tuesdays. All fabrications. Every "I love you," a stepping stone toward this betrayal. By morning, grief had hardened into determination. Using the hospital Wi-Fi and my laptop, I began meticulously documenting everything. Photographing the forged documents, creating spreadsheets tracking every unauthorized withdrawal, recording dates and times of Mark's damning conversations. "You should be focusing on your recovery," Donna cautioned, adjusting my fore as I typed one-handed. "This is my recovery," I replied without looking up. "Every piece of evidence is another step toward walking out of here." Through careful research, I discovered that digital evidence of financial fraud, especially with clear patterns and documented forgery, was admissible in court. More importantly, with proper documentation, I could potentially take action remotely, freezing accounts and pursuing legal remedies even while Mark and Eleanor sailed blissfully through the Mediterranean. I created secure cloud storage for my growing evidence file, backing up everything in multiple locations. If my laptop disappeared, the trail would remain. I researched law firms specializing in financial fraud, compiling a list of questions for initial consultations. One night, as I scrolled through bank records, I uncovered a strange inconsistency. Large deposits into our joint account before significant withdrawals, money that hadn't come from my salary or investments. "They're using me to launder money," I realized aloud. The deposits aligned perfectly with Eleanor's trips to visit her old friends in Las Vegas, 4 times annually for the past 8 years. This discovery transformed my understanding of their scheme. It wasn't just about stealing my money. I was a respectable front for something larger, my clean financial history and impeccable credit perfect camouflage for their activities. 10 days after my awakening, Dr. Patel noted remarkable improvements in my condition during his actual examinations, though he still believed I was unconscious most of the time. "Her brain activity is increasing," he told Donna within my hearing. "We may need to re-evaluate our prognosis." "Not yet," I whispered to Donna after he left. "I need more time." With steady hands and a steadier resolve, I continued building my case against the husband who had married me for money and the mother-in-law who had orchestrated it all. While they sipped champagne on their stolen cruise, I prepared to sink their carefully constructed ship of lies. My fingertips glided across the keyboard, each keystroke a promise. This betrayal would not stand. The paper trail they'd left would lead straight back to them, and the quiet accountant they'd underestimated would be waiting. But I couldn't do it alone. My body, still recovering from months of atrophy, betrayed me with its weakness. My mind, though sharp with purpose, needed resources beyond my reach. I need to make a phone call, I told Donna during her night shift. Someone I used to work with. Donna hesitated. Using the hospital phone would create a record. Your cell. Please. I gripped her hand. There's someone who can help us. Jessica Miles had been my protégée at Carter and Winslow. Brilliant with numbers and fiercely loyal, she'd taken over my biggest clients when I reduced my hours after marrying Mark. We'd stayed in touch through monthly lunches until my accident. Donna held her phone to my ear, angling it so I could see Jessica's face when the video call connected. Donna? Is everything? Jessica's voice cut off when she saw me. Sarah? Oh my God, you're awake. Keep your voice down, I whispered. Officially, I'm still in a coma. The shock on Jessica's face shifted to confusion, then understanding as I explained the situation. By the end, her expression hardened with the same determination I felt. Those monsters, she said. What do you need from me? Access. The audit trail software. Your login still works with the premium version, right? Jessica nodded. You want me to track their financial movements? Not a question, she understood immediately. They think they've covered their tracks, but nobody understands digital fingerprints better than we do. 2 days later, Jessica slipped into my hospital room dressed in scrubs Donna had provided. Under her arm she carried a slim laptop case. I brought equipment that can't be traced back to you, she explained, setting up a powerful laptop with specialized financial forensics software. And I've got better news. I've made contact with Ray Connors at First Union Bank. My heart leaped. Ray had been one of my clients, the head of fraud investigation at my primary bank. He agreed to help? Once I explained the situation, he was livid. Jessica grinned. He's granted emergency freezes on Mark's access to your joint accounts, but kept them active so they won't notice anything's wrong. Perfect. I struggled to sit up straighter, wincing as my muscles protested. What about physical therapy? I need to get stronger. Already arranged, Donna said from the doorway. My cousin Troy is a PT on the 4th floor. He's coming after hours, starting tonight. That evening began the dual track of my recovery, physical and financial. While Troy guided my weakened body through exercises to rebuild strength, Jessica and I followed the digital breadcrumbs Mark and Eleanor had left behind. Using password recovery methods on accounts Mark thought were secure, we discovered he'd been careless. His email security questions were painfully easy. His first pet's name, his high school mascot, information I knew from 15 years of marriage. Once inside his email, everything unraveled. Look at this. Jessica pointed to an email chain with a travel agency. He booked the cruise 6 months ago but only finalized the payment the day after you were hospitalized. And here, I noted, scrolling through his sent folder. Instructions to transfer funds to an account in Grand Cayman. We found screenshots of offshore account balances, nearly $400,000 total. Most was mine, but some appeared to come from other sources. Could be previous victims, Jessica suggested grimly. You might not be the first. My stomach turned at the thought. How many other women had Mark targeted before me? The cruise ship's satellite internet became our unexpected ally. Each time Mark or Eleanor made a purchase, champagne at the captain's dinner, excursions at port calls, spa treatments, their transactions created digital timestamps and location data. They're in Barcelona today, Jessica noted on day 12 of my awakening. According to the cruise itinerary, they'll be at sea for 3 days after this, heading toward Morocco. That's the window, I decided. They'll have limited connectivity in international waters. By the time they reach the next port, it'll be too late. While they enjoyed their stolen luxury, Troy pushed my rehabilitation with increasing intensity. You're making remarkable progress, he noted as I completed 10 shaky steps across my hospital room. Most patients take months to recover this much strength after prolonged comas. I'm motivated, I replied, my jaw set as I forced my legs to take another step. During Mark's scheduled call to check on my condition, Dr. Patel, now briefed on the situation by Donna, provided the perfect cover. No significant changes, Mr. Carter. These plateau periods are common with comatose patients. Enjoy the remainder of your vacation, We'll contact you immediately if anything changes. My team grew carefully. Ray from the bank provided official documentation of the unauthorized transactions. A nurse in billing quietly gathered records of Mark's conversations with hospital administration about end-of-life finances. Troy documented my physical recovery, creating evidence that contrasted sharply with Mark's directions to prepare for my imminent death. 14 days after waking up, I felt ready. The cruise ship Oracle was scheduled to depart Barcelona that evening, heading into open waters for 3 days before reaching Casablanca. Everything's in place, Jessica confirmed, showing me the monitoring software tracking Mark and Eleanor's movements. Ray has the emergency protocols ready to implement the moment you give the word. I had regained enough strength to sit properly in a chair, dressed in clothes Donna had brought from home rather than hospital gowns. The woman in the mirror looked thinner, paler, but her eyes burned with purpose. "Are you sure about the timing?" Donna asked as she adjusted my 4-1 last time, for appearances only now as I no longer needed it. "Absolutely," I replied, watching the tracking dot that represented the Oracle moving away from shore. "They need to be far enough from land that they can't easily return. Their arrogance has always been their weakness. They'll check their accounts the moment they receive the notifications, probably right at the ship's bar where everyone can see their reactions." I smiled, feeling a cold satisfaction as I pictured their faces. Mark and Eleanor wanted a memorable cruise. I'm just making sure it's unforgettable. Jessica handed me her laptop. "It's your move, Sarah." With steady hands and a steadier heart, I began executing the counterattack they never saw coming. The quiet accountant they had tried to silence was about to speak volumes. Through the language of numbers they thought they had stolen from me. But first I needed legal protection. Jessica had already made the call. "Melanie Sawyer will be here in an hour," she said, checking her watch. "Best financial fraud attorney in the state. She's canceled her afternoon appointments." "How did you convince her to come so quickly?" I asked. Jessica smiled. "I didn't have to. She handled my sister's divorce 3 years ago when her husband emptied their accounts. When I mentioned attempted murder alongside financial fraud, she was already grabbing her briefcase. Melanie arrived looking exactly like someone who specialized in high-stakes financial cases. Immaculately dressed, carrying a premium leather portfolio, and with eyes that assessed everything in the room before she even spoke. "Mrs. Carter," she said, pulling up a chair beside my bed. "Jessica briefed me, but I need to hear everything from you." For the next 2 hours I walked Melanie through the entire ordeal. The suspicious allergic reaction, the overheard conversations, the unauthorized transfers, the forged documents and the evidence we'd compiled. "This is one of the most comprehensive cases of premeditated financial fraud I've seen," Melanie said, examining our evidence files. "And the timing of your medical emergency alongside these transactions?" She shook her head. "The attempted murder angle won't be hard to establish with the right medical expert." "I don't just want them prosecuted," I said. "I want my money back." "Most fraud victims never recover their funds," Melanie cautioned. "Especially with offshore accounts." "I'm not most victims." I gestured toward Jessica's laptop. "While they're sipping cocktails in the Mediterranean, I've been tracking every account they've opened." Jessica pulled up the audit trail software, showing the network of linked accounts we'd discovered. "We've located approximately $400,000 spread across 6 different banks. 3 in the Cayman Islands, 2 in Switzerland and 1 in Belize." Melanie leaned forward, suddenly very interested. "You found their actual account numbers?" "With access credentials. Mark's password recovery questions were easy to bypass," I explained. "His mother's maiden name, his high school mascot, our anniversary date. Once we had email access, we found everything else." "And you're certain these accounts contain your funds specifically?" I nodded. "My inheritance from my parents was exactly $212,437.68. That exact amount was transferred to the Cayman account 2 days after my hospitalization." Melanie's professional demeanor cracked slightly, revealing a smile. "Then we have options most of my clients don't." Working together, we developed a 2-pronged approach: legal action against Mark and Eleanor and recovery of my stolen funds. Melanie prepared documentation for both civil and criminal complaints, while Jessica and I finalized our plan for the accounts. "The law is clear on this," Melanie assured me. Those are your funds fraudulently transferred. But recovering them through legal channels could take years, especially with international banks. Which is why we're not waiting, I replied. That evening, Dr. Patel officially updated my medical records to show I'd regained consciousness, documenting my actual condition rather than the deterioration Mark had been told to expect. The hospital's legal team, briefed by Melanie, agreed to provide all medical evidence necessary for the criminal investigation. The toxicology reports became our smoking gun. Dr. Harrison, who had initially questioned the levels of allergens in my blood work, provided a detailed statement explaining why the concentration found in my system was inconsistent with accidental exposure. The levels suggest direct ingestion of concentrated shellfish extract, he wrote. Something no one with a known severe allergy would willingly consume. Donna's documentation of Mark and Eleanor's behavior, combined with the hospital billing department's records of their inquiries about end-of-life finances, completed the picture of premeditated harm. By day 16 of my awakening, everything was in place. The Oracle was now in international waters between Spain and Morocco, its satellite internet providing intermittent connectivity that would make any emergency response from Mark and Eleanor nearly impossible. It's time, I told my small team gathered in my hospital room. Let's begin. Jessica initiated the first step, accessing the offshore accounts through the credentials we'd discovered. One by one we transferred funds back to secure accounts Melanie had established in my name, not taking everything but rather specific amounts matching exactly what had been stolen from me. $212,437.68 from the Cayman account, Jessica confirmed. Transferred successfully. $76,000 from the Swiss account, I added, watching the confirmation appear on screen. That matches the liquidated retirement funds. In total, we recovered $358,452.39, nearly everything they had taken from me. The remainder, approximately $42,000, represented money they'd already spent on their cruise and other luxuries. What about the excess? Melanie asked, pointing to funds still remaining in their hidden accounts. That's another $150,000 that doesn't seem to be yours. Probably other victims, I said quietly. Or other illegal activities. We don't touch that, the authorities will handle it. Instead, I had something more fitting in mind. Working with Ray from the bank's fraud department, we identified 5 charities focusing on financial abuse victims and medical research for coma patients. With a few keystrokes, I donated $150,000 from their remaining funds, divided equally among these organizations. Make sure each donation receipt lists Mark and Eleanor Carter as the generous donors, I instructed. Complete with their home address and contact information. Melanie filed our legal complaints electronically, setting in motion both civil and criminal proceedings. By morning, Detective James Wilson from the Financial Crimes Unit had opened an official investigation, working with his colleagues in violent crimes to address the attempted murder aspect. We'll have officers waiting when their ship docks back in Miami, he assured me during his hospital interview. The evidence you've provided is extremely compelling, Mrs. Carter. The final touch came from Donna, whose cousin worked for the cruise line's customer service department. We can have something delivered to their cabin, she suggested. A little notification of what awaits them. I drafted a simple message to accompany the charity donation receipts. Recovered, aware, and waiting. Enjoy the remainder of your cruise. Sarah. As Jessica tracked their ship's progress, we watched and waited. The moment of truth would come at 2:15 p.m. ship time, when the Oracle satellite system would connect for daily updates and our package would be delivered to their cabin. They've just received the package, Jessica announced, watching the delivery confirmation. And Mark's accessing his accounts now. He's trying the Cayman Islands one first. I imagined his face as he discovered the transfers, the growing panic as he checked account after account. The frantic calls to his mother's cabin. Their desperate attempts to contact their bankers, hampered by the ship's limited connectivity. The ship won't reach the next port for 58 hours, Donna noted, checking the itinerary. They're completely trapped. I leaned back against my pillows, feeling a calm satisfaction that had nothing to do with vengeance and everything to do with justice. They had left me for dead, stealing not just my money but the future I'd planned. Now they would face the consequences of their actions, stranded at sea with plenty of time to contemplate what awaited them at shore. Justice, I murmured, is best served cold. And with an ocean view. The next 58 hours passed with remarkable speed. As Mark and Eleanor remained trapped at sea, my recovery accelerated. By the time their ship docked, I had progressed from shuffling steps to walking the hospital corridor unassisted, my body responding to the urgency of my spirit. Dr. Patel signed my discharge papers the morning the Oracle was scheduled to arrive in Miami. Medically speaking, this is unprecedented, he said, reviewing my charts. Most patients require months of rehabilitation after prolonged comas. Most patients weren't poisoned by their spouses, I replied, accepting the wheelchair hospital policy required for my exit. Nothing motivates recovery like justice. Melanie had arranged for a private investigator to document Mark and Eleanor's return. The photos arrived on my new secure phone as Jessica drove me to the temporary apartment she'd helped me rent. Mark's face contorted with panic as police officers approached him on the gangway. Eleanor attempting to flee before being intercepted by a female detective, their luggage being searched on the dock. They were arrested without incident, Detective Wilson confirmed in his call. They're being processed now on multiple charges including attempted murder, grand theft and fraud. Given the evidence, the DA is confident they'll remain in custody until trial. My next stop was my home, accompanied by Jessica, Melanie and 2 police officers. The search warrant Melanie had obtained allowed us to recover any items purchased with my funds, plus collect additional evidence. Walking through the front door was surreal, like entering a museum exhibit of my former life. "Are you okay?" Jessica asked, noticing my hesitation in the foyer. "Yes," I answered, surprised to find it was true. "This isn't really my home anymore. Just a crime scene." In Mark's home office, investigators discovered the missing pieces of our puzzle. Notebooks detailing previous financial schemes, records of investments from other women, and most damning, a small vial labeled shellfish extract hidden in a locked desk drawer. "They weren't just planning to steal your money," Melanie observed as the vial was carefully bagged as evidence. "They wanted to eliminate any chance you'd come looking for it." The community response surprised me most. As news of Mark and Eleanor's arrest spread, neighbors I'd known for years came forward with observations they'd kept to themselves. "Eleanor was always asking about your schedule," admitted Diane from across the street when she visited me at my new apartment. "When you'd be home, when you'd be traveling for work. I thought she was just being a concerned mother-in-law." "And Mark," added her husband Tom, "he'd been meeting with that real estate agent back in January, the one who specializes in overseas properties. Said it was for a client, but they were looking at brochures for Costa Rica. Even Mark's co-workers at the investment firm reached out. He'd been acting strange for months," his assistant Maria told me. "Making private calls, clearing his browser history. We never suspected anything this terrible." Their support was comforting but also raised uncomfortable questions. How had I missed the warning signs that others had noticed? The accountant who could spot a decimal point error in a 1,000-line spreadsheet had failed to see the deception in her own home. 3 months after my discharge, I channeled this realization into purpose. With Jessica's help, I established a monthly support group for financial fraud survivors. Our first meeting, held in a community center conference room, drew 12 attendees. By the 3rd month, we needed a larger venue. "Many victims never come forward because of shame," I explained to the group. "We blame ourselves for not seeing the signs, for trusting too easily, for being stupid about money. But predators like Mark and Eleanor count on that silence. They thrive on our embarrassment." The preliminary hearing for Mark and Eleanor's case became my next milestone. Still using a cane for support during longer walks, I entered the courtroom determined to face them directly. Mark couldn't meet my eyes, but Eleanor stared with undisguised hatred as I took the witness stand. My testimony lasted 4 hours, my accountant's precision serving me well as I detailed every unauthorized transaction, every forged document, every overheard conversation. The medical experts who followed confirmed what we already knew. My shellfish reaction had been no accident. The concentration found in Mrs. Carter's system, Dr. Harrison testified, could only result from deliberate ingestion of processed shellfish extract, something no person with her allergy history would voluntarily consume. Both were denied bail, deemed flight risks given the offshore accounts and evident premeditation. As they were led away in handcuffs, I felt no triumph, only a quiet certainty that they could harm no one else. 6 months after my awakening, I received an unexpected call from Ray Connors at the bank. "We've been following your case, Sarah," he said. "The financial security training you've been offering through your support group, we'd like to formalize it. Would you consider developing a program for our customers? Particularly those in vulnerable situations like recent widows, elderly clients." The project gave me fresh purpose. Working from my new home office, I developed educational materials that translated complex financial security concepts into accessible guidance. My first workshop, hosted at the bank's community room, drew 30 attendees, mostly older women managing money alone for the first time. "My husband handled everything," one participant shared. "Now I'm terrified of making mistakes, of trusting the wrong person." "That fear is your protection," I told her. "But it shouldn't be your prison." Mark and Eleanor's trial began 11 months after my awakening. By then I walked without assistance, had moved into a new home in a different neighborhood, and had established a growing reputation as an advocate for financial fraud prevention. The prosecution's case was overwhelming, strengthened by 3 other women who came forward with stories of financial entanglement with Mark. The jury deliberated for just 6 hours before returning guilty verdicts on all counts. Mark received 18 years for attempted murder and financial crimes. Eleanor, as the mastermind, received 22. As the 1-year anniversary of my awakening approached, I faced a decision about my professional future. The workshops had expanded to 3 banks, 2 community colleges, and several retirement communities. Jessica urged me to think bigger. "You could reach more people with your own firm," she suggested over lunch. "Specialized financial consulting focused on protection and education." I opened Sentinel Financial Consulting on the exact 1-year mark of regaining consciousness. The small office suite accommodated myself, Jessica, who joined as a partner, and 2 recent accounting graduates committed to our protective mission. Our client list grew steadily, primarily through word-of-mouth referrals from those who'd attended workshops. At our modest opening reception, Donna arrived with a small gift-wrapped package. Inside was a framed photo of me in my hospital bed, laptop open, determination on my face. "To remind you," she said, "of how far you've come." Later that evening, alone in my new office, I studied the photograph. The woman captured there looked fragile physically but possessed an unmistakable strength in her eyes. They had underestimated that woman, assumed her value lay only in her accounts and assets. They never understood that her true worth lay in her resilience, her precision, her capacity to transform victim into victor. I placed the photograph prominently on my desk, a daily reminder that my second chance wasn't just about survival. It was about ensuring others had the knowledge to protect themselves from predators like Mark and Eleanor. They had tried to silence me permanently, but instead had given inadvertent voice to my true calling. Where they had seen only a quiet accountant, the world would now know an advocate. Where they had planned an ending, I had found a beginning. Where they had sought to steal my life, I had instead reclaimed it. Stronger, wiser, and with purpose that no one could ever take away.